Well, continuing our series of speaking with former T-Bird players, the T-Birds Alumni series, we're going back to the early 2000s. And truth be told, I have chatted with this gentleman not too long ago, just a few years ago when the T-Birds were traveling through Alberta. I think it was just prior to the pandemic, the last time they were through Red Deer, because he's from that area. So he joined us on the broadcast, but always glad to talk to Dustin Johnner. Dustin spent the early 2000s, as we said, a member of the T-Birds, was captain for 2 years with Seattle. And Dustin, we like to start up these conversations by just updating the fans of what you're up to now, what you're doing, talk about your family, just give us an idea of where Dustin Johnner is in his life right now.
Yeah, no, I've been out of hockey for about 4 years now after I retired. And then me and my wife and my family came back to Canada after being in Europe, and we settled in a town just outside of Edmonton called St. Albert. So I have my wife, Amy, and we got 3 kids. Georgia's 11, Luca's 9, and Bodhi, our youngest, is 4. So we're settled here, and now I'm back in the business world. I've had an opportunity when I was playing to take my master's while I was playing over in Belfast in the EIHL over there. And it's something that league really offers its players, and is something great to help with transition into life after hockey. So that's been fortunate. And I was given an opportunity here to work with a company that helps, companies turn into employee owned and over time. So that's kind of where we are now. And the company I'm working with right now is an electrical company, and I'm just helping kind of the team grow and come up with new products. And they really liked the fact that I was a former athlete, and helping along the way, just helping other people that are maybe don't have that background understand the value of working together and growing as a team.
It's interesting because I was talking to one of your former teammates recently, Zach Fitzgerald, and he mentioned taking that program as well when he was over there in Belfast. That's a great program then, obviously, to take advantage of that. And, the Western Hockey League promotes their scholarship program as well. So, hockey has made you a well-rounded individual, getting both the education and that experience, that life experience of playing all over North America and over in Europe.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that the WHL does well. When I was finished playing in Seattle, I had to make that decision whether I was going to go, try and play pro down south, or whether I was going to take that opportunity and take my scholarship and get my schooling at that point. And I think the league over in England has really given guys, towards the end of their career. That was always my plan, was to go up there and get my schooling at that point. I took a chance and went and played down south, and you kind of lose your eligibility for that scholarship at that point. But it turned out all right. I got to play 12 years professional, and it was a great experience playing over in Europe and in North America.
Well, you obviously turned out right. Look at the hat you're wearing.
Seattle does have a really sacred place in my heart. Whether it's I went there at the age of 17, spent 4 great years there, and we had some success, and we also had some years where it was a little bit tougher. But there was 2 times we lost to the team that went on to win the the Memorial Cup, and you always look back at that. You're like, what if that team wasn't there? What if we would have beat that, won that series and went on? Because we did have some really great teams and some great. I had some great role models. We had a great coach, and Dean Schnells was our coach at the time, and I learned a lot. I wish I would have maybe learned a little bit more, a little quicker. I always had a meeting with Russ Farwell. I always go back to this with a lot of people, and he always told me that if I wanted to extend my career, sometimes you got to learn that maybe you're not at the next level going to be having the same role you do maybe for the Seattle Thunderbirds. With Seattle, I was always one of the guys that was counted on to be offensive and contributing offensively. And then there was as I got older and went into some better leagues, I realized that there's guys with a lot more skill and talent out there with me offensively. So I had to transition my game to be a 2-way center and back check and just continue to work hard. That was always something I think the fans in Seattle would agree with that I did, is just gave everything I had out there, every opportunity. So I learned that a little bit later in my life, and that's kind of what extended my career, was just being able to play both ways and play defensively and kill penalties and win faceoffs. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned transitioning when you get to that higher level, and I suppose as you go up the ladder from being a kid playing Pee Wee to playing at this level in the Western Hockey League to going into any pro league, the talent just gets better, and so you have to up your game.
Yeah, I think you see that with a lot of guys where, also they were, they've always been the best. They've always been the leading on their team. They've always, maybe played on all-star teams or played in the CHL all-star games and all that kind of stuff. But then you get to the next level, and if you're a one-dimensional player and you can't transition, or there's already 6 or 7 or 8 guys that are ahead of you skill-wise offensively, you may have to find a new role and find that niche, whether it's killing penalties or blocking shots or being energy and not getting scored on. Like it's hard at that age to see that far ahead, that there are guys out there. Like there's so many guys that play this game, and there's so many it's even getting crazier now, the skill level that these kids have when they come up. And it's something that's hard to swallow sometimes, I think, for a lot of junior players, is that, hey, yeah, I may have been elite at the junior level, but it's a whole different ballgame once you get to the professional level and realize you may have to adjust your game if you want to continue your career.
Was there anybody that you played with for Seattle or against in the Western Hockey League who you look back and you see, wow, that I didn't see their career going on to be what it was? Maybe they went on and had great success in the National Hockey League or just at the pro level. Anybody that kind of surprised you from maybe the time you were a T-Bird that you look back and say they did the work?
Yeah, you know what? I always look back to a guy like Nate Thompson, maybe. Like, not that I didn't think he had it in him. It's just, he was a young guy when I was there, and he was developing, and then he found that role. And I don't know, he had a long career in the NHL, and he went through a lot too, later in his career. But he's one of those guys who just embraced that role, and he went in and learned how to win faceoffs and learned how to grind. And he had a long NHL career. And, he's one of those guys. He was one of my great friends when I played there. And, I always knew he had it, but it was just one of those things is, are you going to realize that maybe you're not a top 6 forward? And like he was in junior, and then he just found that niche and really, had a great career after that.
Now, you mentioned that you were out of hockey, but only as a player, right? Because you have 3 children, and I'm sure your kids are playing hockey. Are you involved in that way? Are you a watch from the sideline parent? How involved are you in their development?
So both my boys, my daughter did try it for a bit, and she kind of moved on. She does cheerleading now, so that's what she likes to do. But both my boys, Luke is 9. He's a defenseman, and he loves it. And Bodie's 4, and he just started skating this year, so we're getting him going. But as far as, I enjoy working one-on-one with the kids, and if I see something maybe that can help them just a little bit here and there, like dealing with all the organizing everything and running the practices and doing all that stuff, I enjoy it, but I'd rather be there. Hey, if I can take time to take one kid aside, well, okay, here, if you want to work on your shot, or you want to work on your stride, or that type of thing, the one-on-one stuff that I think can hopefully, with the experience I have, can make a difference. But I love being out there. I don't know if I'll ever take on the coaching role to any extent, but I love being on the ice and being part of it. And I also love sitting in the stands too, and taking it in, having a coffee, and not always being involved in it. But yeah, it's great, and I love that both of my boys love it.
Well, we'll talk about your pro career after leaving Seattle, because you, I guess the word is well-traveled. You stayed in the game a long time, and you don't do that if you're not, contributing and playing well. Teams want to have you on their roster. So talk about the long career that you had as a pro after leaving the T-Birds.
Yeah, it was kind of, when you look back, it's a long list of teams and locations that we played, which, in North America is, that wasn't ideal. I wanted to find somewhere and stick, especially, I got drafted by Florida. I was hoping that's where I would end up playing one day. And then I ended up not signing there and signing with the Flames and playing in their farm system. And, I was in the East Coast, up and down a lot, get traded back to Florida, and the same thing, American League East Coast and we're at the point where it's just, I didn't know if I had it, the skill level or the opportunity was going to come to make it there. And my agent kind of called me on my way home after my first entry level deal was done. He said, "Do you want to try Europe?" And I, at that point, you didn't really have iPhones or anything, which we're dating ourselves a little bit. But he said, "Do you want to go to Zurich, Switzerland and try it there?" And I was not sure where that was at that point. And, we kind of looked it up. My wife at the time, Amy, we were just dating at the time. And we said, well, why don't we try it? It's an opportunity. It was, financially, it was better than what I was getting in North America. And it was an opportunity to see the world. And we went over there thinking we were going to try and, not sure how long it was going to be. It could be a year, it could be 2 years. We didn't know. And we wanted to see as much of the world as we could. So we were like, hey, let's try and go to a different city every year. So we started out that way. And then, had some success. When we were in Switzerland, we won the championship and then went to Austria and then we went to Germany. And then we really fell in love with Sweden when we were there. The culture, the people, the hockey, and we also had some success. I was fortunate to win 4 championships when we were in Europe, and I think it was 12 years we were over there, and a couple of them were in Sweden, and a couple of my kids were born there. And it's just, we love Stockholm, we love a lot of it, and that's kind of where my game changed. To be able to play till I was 35 years old was, I just it gave me the opportunity where they called me in and said, we don't care how many goals you get, just be a part of our team. We have enough guys that can score and do that. You just come out here and help us be a better team and help us win whatever it takes. And I learned how to do that. I learned how to, when asked, kill penalties and win faceoffs, and when asked to be able to play on the power play too. So I kind of had a skill set that was right for that Swedish league. And I was in the second league and we won 2 championships, and it was really fortunate. And we love every minute of it. My wife still misses Europe, and I do too. We made such great friends over the 12 years we were there.
Take me back to your time now with Seattle, and whether it's an on-ice memory or maybe some of the things off the ice that you miss about this area. Obviously, when you were here, you played up at what was Key Arena, practiced over at Kingsgate in Kirkland. Anything that you kind of, when you reminisce, you think, man, I do miss this particular aspect of my time in Seattle?
Yeah, first thing I always think back about is my billets. The cars and the Maytashes, obviously they're probably not billeting anymore as far as you guys being down in Kent. So, just I always think about them and what they did for us and how much time they took out of their lives to take care of us. So that's one thing. But, I still remember my first goal, scoring a shorthanded goal. That was my first goal there. And I remember a lot of the guys. I remember, when I went to my first camp when I think I was 15, it pretty much changed my effort level and realizing what you have to do. I remember watching guys like Timmy Preston and David Morissette, just how fast they would skate and the effort and all that. And it still stands out for me. And I think without seeing that, I don't know if 2 years later, if I would have been on that team. So what else do I remember? I also remember my last game there. It was tough. I remember after the game, all of a sudden, I don't know who it was, but someone handed me the mic and said, "Do you want to say something to your fans?"
That's probably me.
And it was probably you. And it caught me off guard, but it was one of those moments now that I'm happy I did. And I've spent a lot of time there, and they were great to me. The city was great. It's a place that I'll never forget, and I still root for them. I see Steven Gertzen here quite often. He's around here and he's involved with the team still. So our kids are the same age, playing against each other last year. So it's fun to reminisce with all the old guys, and we had such a good group there. So it was a lot of fun, and I remember a lot of those days.
Well, Gertz has got to bring you down one time when he comes down to work with these players. He does help to develop them. He does their skill development. As you mentioned, still part of the team was your teammate. And you mentioned how you came so close a couple of times in your career here to maybe advancing to a championship, and seeing the team that beat you win it probably gives you a little bit of a sour taste. But there are some banners here, division banners, that you earned as a member of the T-Birds that are hanging up here at the Shower Center. So you need to come down and take a look at those, and a part of you is here, even though you're, back in Alberta.
Yeah, I absolutely. I want to get down there. I want to take my family down there, and I also want to. I'm going to call Gertson out and tell him to bring me down next time. But absolutely, I do miss it. I once in a while, somebody will be down there at a game or something and see my jersey in the stands and send me a picture, and I'm like, wow, that's going way back. But it was a place that holds dear to my heart, and it helped make me the guy I am today, and helped me with my career. And it was always such a great organization. It wasn't always great driving across that bridge to go into a game to Key Arena from where we were at, but you remember sitting in traffic, but you also remember, the great times of that arena. And it's, like I said, it's one of those places that I'll always remember.
Well, Dustin, it's always good to catch up with you. As I said, we had a chance to chat a couple of years ago when the T-Birds rolled through Alberta and into Red Deer. And I'm sure we'll probably meet up again at some point when the T-Birds travel back through that area over the years. But again, always a part of the T-Birds, and we certainly welcome you down here anytime you come down. But appreciate your time and being part of our alumni series.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.